Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Empowering Voices. Today, we are here with a very special person, an amazing guest, Amanda Hill. Hello, Amanda. We are so happy to
Hello.
have you here. Now you'll understand why I'm so excited. When I read the story of Amanda, I was really stunned because she went through a lot, she will tell us, but she achieved a lot as well. And that's why today I'm wearing my t-shirt with the word resilience, because I think it's been an element constant in the life of Amanda. So Amanda, welcome. Tell us who you are, from where you are calling, and everything happened in your life from the very beginning.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. My name is Amanda Heel. I am from Canberra, Australia, and I am totally blind, have been since birth. I was born at just 26 weeks, so very, very preemie back in 1970, and I was very lucky to have survived because my twin sister didn't. I was just 1 pound 9 ounces or 750 grams. And I was
Super
about
tiny.
10 inches long. Yeah, so I really was very tiny. And they had to give me oxygen to help me survive. But that's what damaged my eyes, causing total blindness. But, at least I'm here to tell the story.
Yeah, that's amazing. And we are lucky to have you.
Thank you. So, yes, I went through the normal school system because back then children were sent interstate to special schools for the blind, and my parents got together with a group of other parents and lobbied the government here in Canberra until they allowed us to go to our local schools with support of specialist teachers and Braille transcribers. And then I went on to university, where I did a combined commerce law degree and worked as a government lawyer for 17 years. Was laid off from that job due to government downsizing. And then I did a number of things after that. And now at the moment, I am an inspirational and motivational speaker.
Yeah, no wonder. We are very happy with this a little piece of your story. And I had a question. When you were born, and of course you went through a lot, but did you become blind straight away? I mean, all your
Yes.
parents, did they? Okay, so they realized
They
from
didn't
the
know.
beginning. Ah, okay.
Well, no, they didn't know I was blind until I was 3 months old, because I was in a humidity crib for all that time. And it was the oxygen that caused the damage to my retinas. And they didn't know until they took me to the pediatrician when I came out of hospital.
Oh, of course. And
Because
they never
babies' eyes
were
weren't tested
informed.
like that.
Yeah, and they were
Yeah.
never informed that there was that
No.
risk.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So it must have been a big surprise for them. Not easy.
Yeah, my mum said when the doctor was talking to her, she could hear this sound and she didn't know what this sound was. And then she realized it was her screaming. So, yes, she was quite very, very upset by the
Yes.
news.
Of course, because you don't know how to deal with it. It's something totally new. But I suppose your parents were the biggest supporters
Yes.
for you, because they had to find ways, right? And and the other question is, so normally when we go to school, we start maybe writing letters at home and things like this. And did you start with your specific language as well before going to school? How did you?
I didn't, but I had lots of I loved textures, and I had lots of toys that were different textures, and my parents or my preschool, I went to childcare or early intervention education, and my teachers were teaching me things like how to run my hand along a line of something, whether it was nails or beads or something, to learn how to track along a line and then go and read along the next one, like you do when you read Braille. And so they were teaching me how to recognize, rough and smooth and, fluffy and shiny and different things, so that I would have those skills to start learning Braille.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I
Because
started
the
when I was
tact
in my
was,
first year of school.
the tact was the most important sense at that stage, of course. And of course, you managed also to go, as you said, in the state school, and that, I think, helped from a social point of view as well.
Oh gosh, definitely. I mean, there are some people, institutionalized people, who their disability defines them, but I just happen to be, I'm a person first. I'm Amanda Hill with all my likes and dislikes and fears and dreams, and I just happen to be blind. So my blindness doesn't define me, but it has now become my superpower, as it were, because I talk to people about courage.
Yeah,
so,
I think,
yeah,
it's okay. Courage and purpose, I think, are the support for everything you do, like resilience as well. Did you ever find yourself in an emotional, very hard emotional situation where you felt, I don't know, I can imagine during the period of the teenage time, if you felt that your blindness was defining you?
I never did. No, interestingly, no, I never did. I was bullied at school, and I was very lonely at school, but I never really kind of made that connection. I never really thought, oh, this is because I'm blind.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It just was how it was. And because that's pretty, well, that's how my mum was very influential in that, because I remember when I was about 5, we're driving along in my mum's car, and she says to me, "So what do you want to do when you grow up, darling?" And I said, "Well, I want to be a nurse," because my mum had been a nurse. And she said, "Why do you want to be a nurse?" I said, "Oh, because nurses, they put bandages on people and they make them feel better." And Mum said, and my lovely mum, of course, she wouldn't say, "You're blind, of course you can't be a nurse."
Yeah.
Instead, she said, "Oh, yes, that's true. That's nurses do that, absolutely. But they also do other things." She said, "They make beds." And she said, "You don't like making beds, do you?" And I said, no. Between you and me, I still don't at the age of 52. And she said, "They also empty bedpans." And I said, "What are bedpans?" And she told me, and I was absolutely horrified. And I said, "Oh, no, I don't think I want to be a nurse anymore." And no more
that was a very clever way to face the thing. Wow, amazing. Yeah.
Yes.
So
whereas my
you
dad was
decided for
different.
and you decided for something else, another kind of dream. Of course.
Yes.
That's great. And I was reading, of course, you did something that one of the biggest adventures you decided to go to when in Nepal. I'm referring to that.
Yes.
So do you want to tell us? I'm sure our
Sure.
listeners
Absolutely.
are very curious.
Well, in 1992, Guide Dogs New South Wales, ACT, invited me to go on a trip to Nepal. And that trip was planned for a number of reasons. Someone had left some money in her will for Guide Dogs to make a movie. And so they decided they would go on a trip to Nepal with 6 people with various levels of vision impairment. I was the only totally blind one in the group. And we would go to Nepal, and they would make a movie, and that would show people that blind people like to do adventurous things too. And it would also help us with our independence and our skills, communication skills, and all sorts of things. So I initially went, "Oh no, the only thing I know about Nepal is Mount Everest is there, and I'm not nowhere near fit enough to climb Mount Everest. Don't know anything about climbing apart from walking around the rocks down by the sea with my mum holding onto the waistband of her shorts. We'd sort of clamber over the rocks together and find all sorts of interesting things. And that method of walking actually is what I used when I was in Nepal, because we were all teamed up with our own Sherpa guides and people who could speak very good English, enough to say, step up with your right foot and watch be careful, there's slippery mud, or, step over the tree root and, it's narrow here, or, we're crossing a bridge, or, things like that. So they needed English, good English, to be able to communicate that. And while I didn't hold on to my Sherpa's waistband, because that wouldn't have been appropriate, I held on to his backpack. And so I was able to feel where his body was moving, and I pretty much stepped in his footsteps. And so and the others actually took that up too. They initially went, oh, no, we can see much better. We can just hold on to a trekking pole. And by the end of all our practice walks and all sorts of things, they were all holding onto their guides' backpacks too. So we trekked up to a height of 10,667 feet, which is about 3,200 and odd meters.
Wow.
And up to the top of Poon Hill, which it's higher than any of the mountains we've got in Australia, but of course in Nepal they just call it a hill. So went up there, and our beautiful guide Wanchuk took each of us by the hand and said, there's Annapurna 1 and 2 and 3, and there's Dhaulagiri. And of course we all said, where's Mount Everest? And I said, oh, it's kind of over there somewhere, but I can't see it because of the clouds. And the Nepalese always used to say to us, why have you come to Nepal? And, they didn't have enough English for us to say, well, so that we can meet the people and smell the smells and experience, the altitude and, all the other things there are to experience. And so our head guide Wanchuk used to tell the Nepalese people that we could see through the eyes of our soul.
Oh, that's a beautiful
image. And they seem to like that.
Yeah.
Because many blind people in Nepal are still carried. Or they were back in 1992. They didn't go anywhere. They didn't leave their houses unless they were sent to a special school for the blind, where they learnt some Braille and they learnt some, manual tasks so they could, weave mats for their families, or, whatever it was. And we did go to one of those schools and visit with some students there. But it was an amazing...
wow. So you told them about the experience. Imagine these people had this hope. And finally, the dream to do something similar.
Yes.
Oh, that's amazing. Were you scared while you were climbing them?
I just trying to think. No, there was honestly no period where I was afraid, because we had done a lot of training. We had done a lot of training here in the Blue Mountains in Australia. We had done lots of walking on different surfaces. We got to know our Sherpa guides over a few days, just wandering around in Kathmandu. So we got to know them and got to trust them. And
that has to be total trust, I suppose. Yeah, of course.
And I guess as a blind person, if you've been blind all your life, you do kind of get used to trusting people. You just, trust people. And it's very rare that it goes wrong. Although I've got to, let me tell you this story.
Yeah, sure.
As we were trekking, one of the other people in the group decided we were going to have a competition. And the person who had the most technical falls, and that was defined as touching the ground with 3 parts of your body, whether it was 2 knees and a hand, or 2 hands and a knee, or something like that. And after much debate, we decided that 2 butt cheeks counted as 2 parts of your body. So if you fell on your backside and put your hand out, then that was a technical fall. The person with the most technical falls would have to buy everyone else a drink when we got back. So that was great. And then Sherpas got in on this, and you'd hear the Sherpa voice call out, technical fall. And you knew from the Sherpa's voice who it was, which person had fallen. But ironically, the person who had the most technical falls, we decreed was one of our sighted party, because he slipped and he rolled down a small embankment, and we decided he'd touched the ground many times with his whole body, so he was declared the winner. So yeah.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
I think it's such a unique experience for anyone, of course, but more so in such an unusual environment and group. I think something
It
to
was.
remember forever, of course.
We went into the villages and we talked to the people. We didn't just slog mindlessly up the hills with our trekking poles like most of the other tourists did. We stopped in the villages and we went into people's houses and we talked to them, and we touched there was a lady spinning and I touched her wheel, and there was a man knitting and he gave me his knitting and I knitted a few stitches, and
oh wow.
We just met people. We patted water buffaloes, and we talked to the people who were carrying huge loads of wood on their head, and we really interacted with the population.
Yeah, so it was in a
wonderful
way, for sure, an amazing experience, but also a bit of a mission when you communicated your experience. And anyway, it's not true that blind people cannot travel and know the reality of a place. As you are saying, I mean, you experience these people. And like you were saying before, you get used to trust people when you need to, of course, when you are blind. And I think you tell me if it's true. I mean, your senses, but also your feelings are so sharpened that you can understand straight away if you can or you cannot trust someone.
Yes, that is true. It's a bit of a myth that when someoe's blind, their hearing and their smell and their taste and their touch get stronger. It's more that they're used more efficiently. So I'm always listening. So I've heard my dog make herself comfortable in the background, and I've just noticed that the heating's turned on, and so I'm always listening subconsciously to what's going on around me, so there are only the amount of people I won't let guide me. I can count on one hand.
Okay.
And that's because they've made mistakes in the past, and I have felt unsafe with them. But usually people are very good, and I'm like to think that I'm good at putting people at ease and telling them what I need. And most people, if you tell them what you need in a clear and courteous manner, they're usually pretty obliging.
Yeah, of course, because sometimes, I mean, I would feel to make more damage than not if I don't know what to do, of course. But otherwise, I would be very happy to help. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
some people who don't know any better will grab me, two hands. They'll grab me on one shoulder and one hand on one shoulder and the other hand sort of here, and I'll just gently disengage myself and take hold of their elbow and stay half a step behind them, and off we go.
Yeah.
So,
and what about your you were mentioning your career in the legal field?
Yes.
What did you do specifically?
I worked for many different government departments as what they call an in-house lawyer. I looked at contracts for like rental and lease of equipment for the government. I in the last 7 years of my career, I drafted legislation in all sorts of areas. I did a little bit of criminal work, helping to get evidence from overseas and helping people get evidence in trials by way of video link when video link wasn't a thing before Zoom was invented. So that was, I did many, many different things. I wrote policy documents. So I did all sorts of things.
And this is a big difference with the nurse that you wanted to become. How did you start this passion, or how did it become your dream?
Well, law was kind of a second choice. I originally wanted, when I was a little bit older, I wanted to become a physiotherapist because I'd done work experience with a couple of physiotherapists and I loved it. And still had that element of, you know, helping people and making them feel better.
Yeah.
And there were no schools to train physios back then. So I went to England to study at the North London School of Physiotherapy.
Oh, wow.
And studied there for 18 weeks. And then they went, oh, gosh, you get lost in open spaces. No, you can't be a physio. You need to go back to Australia. And so I came back and I enrolled in a commerce degree because I'd already got accepted into the Australian National University, but I deferred my studies for a year just in case. And that ended up being a good decision. And before I came back, my aunt who lived in England, I'm sitting in her lounge room crying at 2:00 one morning going, all I ever wanted to be was a physio, and now I can't. And, you know, gosh, what am I going to do? And she said, you've got a good brain. Why don't you study law?
Yeah.
So I got into commerce because I didn't have the marks to get into law, and then I forgot about it. And then in my second year, I did an introductory business law unit and loved it.
Oh.
There was that element of helping people and solving problems and such. So I badgered the dean of the law school until he said, yes, okay, we don't want you to transfer and do a straight law degree. We want you to do a combined degree. So I did a combined commerce law degree.
Wow.
I know it takes 5 years, but it took me 7.
Okay. But as I told you before, I mean, you had this path of helping all the way from your surname already. So your path was there. And in fact, you go on telling us your story after you finished your working in the legal field. Then
when I was laid off, I then didn't know what to do. And I knew, like, from deep down that I knew I was here for a reason. I knew I'd been put here for a purpose. And I didn't know what that was. And so I started selling Arbonne skincare. And because a friend was doing it and she invited me to join her team. So I was like, yep, sure, I can do that. So I started doing that and did a lot of personal growth training through the company, which was amazing, and studied at the feet of John C. Maxwell, who was just the most amazing teacher of leadership and personal growth, and started to grow as a person and started to, I guess, search for my life's purpose. And I eventually found it, that skincare didn't go so well. I ended up very badly injuring my knee. And during my 10-week recovery, I realized that skincare wasn't a good thing to do, and that I needed to do something different. And my friend, it was absolutely heaven sent. I'm a woman of faith. She rang me that very day and said, oh, would you like to join the John Maxwell team and retrain as a speaker, trainer and coach? And I went, yeah, okay, why not? So spent almost all my savings to do that training, and then worked with another coach to work out why I wasn't getting coaching clients. And through working with her, I discovered that my life's purpose is to inspire and encourage others, which again goes back to that theme of helping people. I think the encouragement thing was all the way through. And I wrote 2 books on the subject.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you are a public speaker and a book author. Do you want to tell us a bit about your books as well? Because I saw,
the second, I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
No, go on. Tell us about it.
The second book is really I like to describe my first book as my baby book. And it's only like 85 pages and it's a paperback and it's really not that good. And then my second book, I was going to write a book about courage when COVID hit. I had just decided to pivot from coaching into speaking, and then COVID hit. And it's like, what do I do now?
Not exactly the right moment.
I'll write a book. I'll write another book. I'll write a book about courage. And I virtually bumped into a book coach, and he said, look, don't write another book about courage. Rewrite your first book and make it better. So now my current book called Seeing by vision, not by sight. How
That's
to
a
discover your
beautiful,
life's purpose.
yeah, it's
How
a
to discover your
beautiful
life's
title.
purpose and put it
Yeah.
into action. Thank
Wow.
you. Yeah. Which is, it's about how to discover your life's purpose and put it into action. Do you want?
Beautiful. I mean, and it's very motivational, of course, because it's a support for others, and based, of course, on your journey.
Yes, it's about how I discovered my life purpose. So it is a bit bibliographical, but not bibliographical, biographical.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit biographical, but it also, the journey that I went on, I kind of reverse engineered it down into 3 steps.
Mm-hmm.
Examine your past, examine your passions, and
Mm-hmm.
examine your present. And from doing those 3 things very deeply and very thoroughly, most people can discover what they will put here to do.
Yeah.
And it's usually something broad like inspiring and encouraging, or serving, or helping others see things differently, or teaching, or, it's usually quite broad, and there's lots of options as to how people can live that out. And so I thought I could live out my life purpose through coaching, but now I've realized that I can live it out through speaking and talking to people about how they can increase resilience, which is why I was very excited when you said you had that T-shirt. Increase resilience by building courage.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell stories from my own life and the lives of others, and hopefully inspire people to become a little bit more courageous and follow their dreams. And
Yeah, that's definitely something I always talk about, to follow your dreams. But of course, you need resilience, courage, and determination to do that. So, of course, to be guided by someone like you who went through it becomes a sort of trust. I can trust you because you've been there. So I am sure it's a great guidance to go through your book and then having your help. So do you do your activity of public speaking where how does it work? What do you do it in theaters, events, TED Talks? What kind of
things are only just opening up? I would like to do a TED Talk, and I'm doing a virtual summit. So that's my backdrop's brand new. You can probably still see the creases in it. We haven't steamed it yet. It's brand new. So yes, got that so that I can do virtual stuff, because of course I very much look forward to getting on to live stages, but as a blind person, virtual suits me very well.
Yes, of course.
I'm in a familiar environment and have all my tech around me.
Yeah. It's been one of the inheritance we got from COVID, the use. I mean, we used it before as well, but now it became normality to just jump on a screen and enjoy what we cannot reach because maybe we are in another, like us. I mean, I'm in London, you are in Canberra. I mean, there's a bit of a distance between the two places.
I love technology.
Yes, definitely. It helped us a lot from many point of view. Do you want to tell us some other little anecdotes of your life that you think can be of help and support for our listeners?
Well, my speaker, I have a speaker methodology. So I tell stories out of my book, but I don't speak that much about purpose. I can, but it's not my main topic. So my speaker methodology is if you want to build your resilience and your courage, I recommend that you do 5 things. And that is fix your eyes on the prize, not the problem. So, stop worrying about the hows and whats and just chip away at your big goal a little bit every day. optimize your goals for outstanding outcomes. So make your goals meaningful. Make them meaningful and break them down into small pieces so you can achieve them. And every piece you achieve will give you the courage to go on to the next bit and the next bit until you've achieved the whole goal. Like when I had become convinced that if I was going to, that I hadn't traveled by bus for about 20 years because I used to get lifts to work and everything. So after about 20 years, I'd just become bus phobic and I was terrified that I'd got lost.
Yeah.
And I was offered a job as a PR speaker for guide dogs. And they said, well, you need to travel by bus to be independent. So I gradually learned how to catch buses again. I started on just a stationary bus, getting on and off and finding a seat, and then doing a short journey with someone next to me and then a longer journey with someone next to me. And now I travel all over Canberra by bus to speak. So I had to take my eyes off. Yeah, so I'll use that story to demonstrate. So I had to take my eyes off my fear and focus on doing the training so I could get the job. I had to optimize that goal and break it down into little bite-sized pieces so I could achieve it because it was too big all by itself.
Of course.
I had to connect with my conviction, which is the third pillar, that I could not stand up there and talk about independence if I wasn't being independent. So I had to be an authentic communicator. So I had to connect with my conviction for greater consistency. I had to keep my courage upgraded. So courage is like a muscle. You can make it strong, but you have to keep working at it to keep it strong. And when COVID started and I didn't catch buses for 6 months, I was quite afraid when I got on my first bus, but it's like, no, it's okay. So I just have to keep catching buses regularly to keep my courage current. And the final thing is you see your success by putting your courage into action. It's no good just feeling brave. You actually have to put your courage into action.
Of course.
And,
until you have it only in your mind, it's not enough.
Absolutely.
You need to take action. That's amazing. And
so that's kind of the essence of my keynote. That's what I speak about.
And it makes totally sense. And the 5 steps are really what we all need. And if you think it can be applied, of course, to anything in life, in the professional or the private life, from the smallest actions to the biggest decisions. It's recurrent. Thanks a lot for sharing it with us, because it can definitely help to have an idea. And of course, with your help, that I encourage everyone actually to check the details to reach Amanda. I just remind everyone that they are in the post, in the bio on my website, and of course in the every podcast you will listen, you'll have the details coming with it. Amanda, I'd like to close this episode with we talked about courage, purpose, resilience. Is there any other word that you think it's important and a bit of a guidance in your life and can be for others?
Courage, purpose, resilience. Stickability. Just stick at it and believe in yourself. Self-belief. Yes, self-belief. That's the word I want to use. Self-belief. Sorry, my phone's chatting way in the background.
It's okay.
Yes, self-belief. If you can believe in yourself, you can achieve
anything.
Almost anything.
Yeah, maybe we cannot fly because we won't have wings. So that is the almost, that is the limit. That's the only one.
And you're not going to be a basketballer if you're 3 feet tall. But, you could do something else. You could go skydiving if you wanted to fly, or you could play some other sport.
But as you said, I mean, our purpose in a broad way, we know and we always knew, like it was for you. You just need to find the right channel. that depends on each of us individually, because we are so unique that we cannot, of course, apply rules for the general rules for the single. Okay, I love this conversation, and I'm sure there's a lot to learn from it, and many people will feel supported and with a lot of dreams and hope that everything is possible. So thank you very much, Amanda. We love to have you here, and I love you and leave you, everyone, and speak to you soon.